Yo, Elliot. So we got this question from one of our buddies who wants to know if it's best to lift barefoot, deadlifts in particular, deadlifts and squats. Is it best to lift barefoot like he sees some people doing, or wearing those barefoot shoes like Vibram 5s? Should he take the West Side barbell approach and all those guys are wearing Chucks? Or should he just wear his sneakers or some other type of lifting shoes? So here's the deal. It's really important to consider what's happening to your feet because there is a ground reaction force. Basically that means how your feet absorb the ground based on the muscular imbalances or lack thereof within the foot translates itself up your entire body. He mentions flat feet, right? Let me show you what happens if you've got really flat feet. And mind you, before I go any further, my feet, I'm working on my feet all the time. I'm massaging my feet, I'm stretching my feet, I'm stretching my toes, I'm doing yoga. My feet are not great, but I manage it by doing the things that I do. So anyway, I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen if you've got flat feet. Watch very closely how all the joints in my lower body and then throughout my upper body articulate based on flat feet lifting, right? So a person with flat feet, it looks like this. The arches aren't there and the foot collapses in. The minute the foot collapses in, right, and I'm going to talk to you about why it collapses in, right? The foot collapses in, you see this extra angle here? That angle will contribute to, if you want to come around, will contribute to the knees going in. Just watch my feet and also watch my knees. As my feet flatten, where do my knees go? And then look what happens to the toe also. Bang, you start pushing off, and that's why a lot of guys, including myself, years of bad shit, get bunions, big knots over here, because they push off the middle of their foot, right? Come on up to my hips. As my knees rotate in with the flat foot, watch what happens to my hips naturally. You do it at home. Drive your knees in, your hips anteriorly tilt. Boom. As the anterior tilt happens, so does the kyphosis. So, if you're trying to deadlift, you're putting a lot of weight on the bar, and your feet are collapsing, it's not just your feet collapsing, your whole fucking body is collapsing. It's a domino effect. That's why I call it a ground reaction force. What's happening through the ground, based on your feet, what's happening through your feet, moves all the way up the kinetic chain, and you're gonna have a fucked up neck and wanna know, how did I get a messed up neck? And you're gonna go to a neck doctor, he's gonna look at your neck. But meanwhile, it's because of your fucking feet, right? How strange is that? So anyway, you can just imagine that if you put a lot of weight on this bar and you've got flat feet, you're deadlifting like this, everything's just feeling messed up. You know what I'm saying? Flat feet. So the very first thing is, what is gonna allow your feet to express a full, allow for all the weight to be expressed fully throughout the entire foot. Not just in your heels, not just in your toe, right? Not just through the middle of your foot, not just through the outside of your foot, throughout your entire foot. That's really important to consider. If you can handle that without any aids, then great, then do it. The other thing is, deadlifting in sneakers, you can just imagine. Now these are my favorite sneakers, they're Asics gels, because they're so soft on the inside, right? They're really cushy. What I talked about just now with regard to the stability of the foot and how important it is to your ability to deadlift, just consider that this is like really soft sneakers, right? You've got really cushy sneakers in there. And I'm going to deadlift, there's no stability. Look, wherever my foot wants to go, it's going to squish into the soles of the shoe, right? It's very squishy. You're not going to be at your strongest because you're pushing through something that gives, right? You're not going to be very powerful because as you push down into the sneaker, it gives, right? And then if you got a sneaker with a really thick cushion, you're going to be moving all over the place. And you can watch yourself or watch athletes when they're deadlifting, it's like, oh, weak, and that works its way up. So, you don't want to wear sneakers. The Chucks are helpful, like I said, if you have balanced feet. What I tend to do, because I have tight ankles, and this also is a bit like cheating, is I wear lifting shoes. Now the reason why this is cheating is because it has a higher heel than a toe. And what that does is, this, by the way, these are like chucks because they're flat, they're completely flat, and they're rigid. And what these do is they lift my heel just a little bit so they can get an extra bend in my knee, which translates up to the, in my ankle, which translates up to the knee and into the hips, and gives me more leg drive when I'm doing the deadlift. So, what's my answer? My answer is make sure that the joint integrity and muscular balance within your foot is solid first before you decide how you're going to deadlift, if you're going to use any aids or if you're going to do it purely barefoot. Pay very close attention to how you're pushing through the ground. That means more than what you're actually wearing.
Yo, Elliot,